welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer for the week ahead. This is going to be the astro weather for June 16th through the 23rd, 2024. We're going to be talking all about this week's transits, but we'll be putting a special emphasis on Venus entering the sign of Cancer. If you guys like this content, you want to see more of it, click the bell button below. This will subscribe you to the channel. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, making sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. This is going to be a little bit more of a relaxed week, thankfully. So you guys are going to find that we're just kind of going with the flow this week. One of the big themes that we're going to be actually taking a look at as we are kicking off the week ahead is a number of squares to Neptune. So be mindful that that's in the air Sunday, Monday, Tuesday until we get these planets into Cancer. So it's going to kind of feel like we're coming out of some confusing or draining energy. Be mindful when it comes to miscommunications, also issues with relationships and relating to other people. Gaining clarity when it comes to talking about our feelings or gaining clarity in regards to where we stand in relationships or financial matters are a little tricky. So you guys might want to wait until these planets come out of the square later in the week. Now we're also going to see the sun's ingress into the sign of Cancer. And that will be, at least here in the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice point. Those of you guys in the southern hemisphere, you guys are actually enjoying your winter. But this is a very potent reset point that we'll be experiencing. So we'll take a look at that chart as well. We'll be having part one of a full moon in Capricorn. So if you guys haven't catch that video, check that out. It's on my channel. We talk all about the full moon in Capricorn and how it's a really good time to assess our goals. And if we feel like we're not reaching them, we have a second full moon that'll be hitting in July that will be quite impactful with a conjunction to Pluto. But really important to watch the moon when we get into Cancer season. So obviously this full moon might be a little bit more potent than most. We're also catching it right before the ruler Saturn turns retrograde. So it's really great for focusing on timelines, deadlines, goals, anything in regards to boundaries, and also making our dreams a reality. Very reflective in my opinion. And then also we'll see, like I said, Venus and Mercury entering into the sign of Cancer. So we're going to see that ingress take place. Venus and Mercury have been moving very closely with the sun. So I don't know about you guys, but it has felt a bit burnt out to me, a bit draining. So we're going to start to kind of see that separate a little bit. And I think, with Venus and Mercury, coming together in a sign, we will actually see right when they ingress into Cancer, there will be a conjunction. Is really blending this energy of mental stuff, right? Mercury, communication, documents, traveling, agreements with Venus, which is all about diplomacy and beauty and harmony and relationships and resources. So I think this is a blend that's going to be really fascinating because we're going to see a lot of emotional depth that's going to be coming through in our communication skills. We're also going to find that Venus moving through this sign, which is ruled by the moon, is emphasizing the importance of emotional connections and nurturing relationships, talking about our feelings. We may feel a little bit more sentimental with this ingress. We may also be feeling much more sensitive and intuitive when it comes to matters of love and partnerships. So this particular week, we're really focusing on the value of comfort, security, and emotional intimacy within relationships. But Venus aspects with most planets are actually pretty positive, and I think it's going to really help all of us open up a little bit, be a little bit more vulnerable, talk about our feelings. And as we go through Cancer season, we're going to see some really nice trines to Saturn as well as Neptune, so it can actually provide more clarity, more stability, in the long term. All right, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. If you guys are watching on Sunday the 16th, once again, happy Sunday, especially to my Sunday group. I hope you guys are well. We're waking up in the morning and the moon is in Libra. Just since last night, we've been seeing that kind of conjunction with the South Node and some of the trines that have been building to planets in Gemini. So there's been a lot of emotional clearing, a lot of getting ready to release and like let things go, especially with Venus being the ruler of Libra. And Venus has been hitting this kind of critical 29 degrees in Gemini. When we see planets go through the mutable signs, they are making way for some change. So we are making some changes in how we communicate, how we learn, how we are in relationships, how we are when it comes to information and relating, right? Mercury is connected to Gemini, and it's a very social sign. So we're watching Venus at the time of the lunar transit in Libra, and Venus is going to be hitting that square. You guys are really feeling it today into tomorrow. And really what this says to me is that we're having some kind of an emotional clearing in regards to relationships to a person, place, or thing, because we're sensing a sense of something being out of balance, something being out of whack. Libra is all about this give and take and this kind of like dance that we do in relationships. So when Venus is in a square with Neptune, we kind of feel like, wait a second, like it's not mutual, or this isn't balanced, or there's something that isn't clear, or something that could perhaps be superficial, or you know, kind of like falsely represented or misrepresented. I really think of something that is like kind of fake with a Venus-Neptune square in these particular degrees. So we might be realizing like, wait a second, have I been investing my time, my energy, my emotions, my money into something that may not necessarily be solid? That is going to be the question. So whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether this is a financial situation, just be mindful that whatever is kind of coming to the surface today that we're realizing is not feeling good, or we're kind of left holding the bag emotionally, is definitely setting us up for some kind of breaking or tearing apart of certain relationships or dependencies even. So if you've been dependent on something, you realize, okay, this is not necessarily as solid as I thought. And the key here is to actually work with the moon all day. Now, if you get caught up in the Venus-Neptune square, where there's illusions in regards to values and money and relationships and partnerships, then you're going to be left kind of like wanting more, undersatisfied. If you fall into the moon in opposition to Chiron, you're going to feel wounded because you feel disappointed or not supported. But what you want to work with today is, as that moon is moving through Libra, it's going to figure its way into a trine with the sun, where we're actively shining a light on communication, different ideas. We're reading contracts. We're looking at the emails. We're going in deep when it comes to communication. And we're finding that through communication, we can better kind of work in relationships. We can consider other avenues and other pathways when it comes to, you know, problem solving. We're going to see that moon also make a trine to Mercury. So communication is king today. There's been a lot of communication issues. This has been really happening since Friday. With that moon in Virgo. So oppositions to Neptune, squares to Sun, Mercury, and Venus. It's like everybody has been catching errors, making mistakes, not calling people back, missing emails. And so there can be some hurt feelings basically that's happening over the weekend as a result of some of this miscommunication. So work with the moon in a trine to the Sun, Mercury, Venus point. I think I said in a previous video that the moon, Neptune, Mercury, and Venus will all be at 29 degrees tonight. So there is some feeling of like critical turning points in regards to communication, I think, within relationships. I really feel like this is also about breaking patterns in relationships or connections to other people due to lack of clarity. So if it's like, you know what, I can't take the job, I don't feel good about it intuitively, or, you know, you didn't communicate what you needed from me. So, you know, because of that, I don't really know if it's a good idea, you know, if we continue to go back and forth in this relationship. Listen to your intuition. That's the best thing you guys can do with the moon trine Sun and Mercury. Because we're going to feel like talk is cheap, maybe, with Venus, Sun, and Mercury square Neptune. You know, people might be telling you what you want to hear, but the question is are the changes actually happening? You know, do you feel safe? Do you feel like there is going to be shifts in terms of these relationships to other people or things? And does it sit well with you? That's what you want to be asking yourself. So we'll see that moon continue to move through Libra all day long on Sunday. It is going to pick up the trine to the sun, which is really wonderful. This is in the afternoon, which could be very social. This could be wonderful for, road tripping or getting together with neighbors, making plans for traveling, having conversations with friends or family. When the sun and the moon trine, there's something that's just in flow, right? Things kind of feel like they're going according to plan. So I want to lean into the positivity of the communication aspect, the flexibility aspect, the weighing your options aspect of this Gemini kind of Libra vibe. And when in doubt, communicate, ask questions, consider other options. And then it looks like the moon is going to catch a trine to Mercury. So kind of like mid-afternoon into the evening is when you're going to see some of the best stuff. And then that moon is going to hit 29 degrees, and that'll be late in the evening, but it will be trining Venus and Mercury. Some of you guys might feel that you're like staying up later than usual, talking, having conversations, texting back and forth with, a romantic partner, making plans for travel. Maybe you're feeling more inspired to read or be on social media or to write something. But big communication opportunities. And we know that when planets hit 29 degrees, it's a critical turning point. So it kind of means that there's something completing in this particular area. Granted, it's going to be happening, Sunday night going into Monday morning. But I would say that, like I said, if you don't want to get stuck in the Mercury, Venus square Neptune, which is, well, you didn't text me back, so I'm done. Or we didn't hear from you, so, we went without you. Or, oh man, I, forgot to, follow back up with them, so I'm just going to ignore them. If you fall into that, you're going to actually lose out on an opportunity to better relate to people. So it's better to say something than to say nothing at all. So that also goes for people who are like, okay, I'm afraid to approach a conversation with somebody, or I'm afraid to call somebody back, or I don't want to open the email. Lean into communication, because there's going to be something important that's kind of brewing there. All right, so this is now going to take us into the 17th. And this is Monday. And when we wake up on Monday, the moon is in Scorpio. And thankfully, at least us here, in the States and in this part of the world, we're going to be kind of sleeping when the moon Pluto square happens. But still some rather intense stuff. So for those of you guys in other timelines, just be mindful that one of the first aspects the moon is going to make in Scorpio is a square to Pluto. So this does kind of represent where there is some kind of emotional conflict. There is some kind of fear or power struggle that's kind of coming up. Granted, at the time, the moon is actually trining Mercury and Cancer, which are now, Mercury and Venus, which are now in Cancer. So we're faced with, drama, pressure, emotional changes, home or family changes, and the way out of that is going to be leaning into Mercury and Cancer, talking about your feelings, talking about your vulnerabilities, rehashing the past, connecting with family, making plans when it comes to the home, especially when it comes to preparation, safety, and security. It's very Scorpio. And then the moon trine Venus is also nice as well, because it does mean that the intensity that's coming from this lunar transit is about the things that we care about, what we want to protect, what we're trying to nurture. You're going to hear a lot of these words coming up with Cancer season. And I don't think it's just because so many planets are going through Cancer. I think it's also that we're going to see sextiles to Mars, which is going to kind of add a different flavor, where we're actually taking action and building on the things that we love and protect and we value. And that can be home, that can be things revolving around our, security with our home. It can be also a time where people are feeling incentivized to really stand up and talk about their pride or their love for their neighborhood, their community, their family, their roots, their country. There's going to be a lot of that stuff that's going to be kind of coming up, like a very patriotic type of energy. Anyway, the moon Pluto square will be very early. If you find yourself in a situation where you're having to communicate early in the day, I would really lean into vulnerability and being able to speak from the heart. That's very Mercury, Venus, and especially when it comes to Cancer, because it's ruled by the moon is the dispositor here of these two particular planets, and it's saying that we only get protective over the things that we love. So you might notice some of those themes kind of coming up Sunday night going into Monday. All right, so that moon's going to keep going, and it's going to move through Scorpio. And one of the next big aspects it's going to make is it's going to pick up an opposition to Mars. And this is going to be happening right around midday, kind of in the afternoon. So where maybe there was a little bit of like tension happening in the morning and preparation, then we have the moon in opposition to Mars, which is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Taurus is what we have, what we possess, what we're eating, what we're spending, what we're collecting, what we own, you know, money in the bank. And the moon going through Scorpio does represent changes that's going on collectively, where there's something getting stirred up that's like causing a bit of like a commotion, or it's bringing up paranoia, or it's bringing up fear, or things that we need to be healing. Certainly, with Venus being, you know, connected and associated with Taurus, and Venus is still conjunct Mercury, it's basically saying, okay, you know, we need to continue to kind of stay the path of talking about what we love, what we value, and what we want to nurture. So that Scorpio moon opposing Mars is saying we can get kind of temperamental about, this is mine, that's mine, you know, don't touch that. This is my partner, this is my job, this is my relationship. And we want to remember that love is not possession, because there can be this sense of getting sucked into that with this opposition. Now, technically, this is kind of making within about 5 degrees a T-square to Pluto. So if you notice, you know, first the moon trined Venus and Mercury, then it squared Pluto, and there was the emotional threat that was presented. And now the moon in opposition to Mars. So Pluto is still kind of like the focal point of a very quick moving fixed T-square. You know, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, these are financial signs. It deals very much with the banking system, the stock market, anything involving debt or taxes. And then, you know, Aquarius is dealing with the masses. So I think we're going to kind of hear more about this uptick in this discussion that's been kind of going on recently about, you know, what we're doing with the future of taxes. It's become like a hot topic over the last week. We've heard, you know, Trump kind of making some remarks about the potential of like abolishing, you know, federal income tax. Now, whether or not you agree with that or not, I'm not going to get into that. Whether or not it's going to happen or not, we don't know. But it certainly does kind of rile Pluto and Aquarius, which is about major change and transformation for the masses. And Mars is the money that you have, that you're working for, Mars and Taurus. And the moon in Scorpio is representing other people's resources. So we're going to talk about, wait a second, what is the ripple effect of something like that? And how would we do that? And he's proposing that we put tariffs on imports, and that, you know, this would be something that would essentially help all Americans, but would also kind of there in turn get rid of the IRS. It would also, you know, majorly affect the Fed. So I think that we're going to be hearing more about some of this stuff and some of like how those things could potentially happen. Like I said, whether or not it is possible, I'm not going to get into that, but I think that there's going to be more talk about some of this stuff. I also feel like this can be a time where there is some tension revolving around money and exchanges and transactions. So you want to be mindful of that, because Taurus is where we have what we have. Scorpio is where the money comes due. So those of you guys who are dealing with like loans and banking and investments, or, you know, paying something off or refinancing something or anything like that, this can feel like a very critical time when it comes to, you know, getting something met, you know, getting that interest rate lowered, getting that loan refinanced, getting something paid off. And you can feel more pressure in regards to that. Be mindful of things that can come up with that Scorpio moon that triggers something where suddenly you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that this bill was due. You know, I got to pay it. Or somebody's sending me the Venmo request and they want to be paid now. Or, you know, there's something that I got to send out into the mail, you know, in regards to like a payment. These things can kind of come up. So there can be some pressure there with that Scorpio moon. So watch it for intensity revolving around finances and resources. Now, both Mercury and Venus are now in Cancer. And so you're going to see the conjunction that's going to happen, it looks like at 0 degrees. So even though they're moving around 0 degrees of the sign, which in itself is significant because that's one of the cardinal points. That is the point of the solstice, at least, you know, in June. So, you know, summer, winter, depending on where you are. But that is the 0 degree marker, which is initiating something. You know, cardinal energy wants to start something. So even though Cancer is a water sign, it's ruled by the moon, it's going to stir up, it's going to trigger some stuff in our subconscious. It's going to trigger some stuff in our emotions, within our home, within our family. And Mercury likes to break things apart It likes to put them back together. It likes to look at two sides of a coin. It likes to talk about, you know, anything in regards to the sign that it's in. So Cancer related things, but I think we're going to hear more about the housing market. We're going to hear more about what's going on also with business and the economy and how jobs are doing. And I think it's going to be a time to really watch because it's happening at that critical degree. Anyway, so if we look at when they exactly conjunct, it looks like because Mercury is the faster moving planet, this is going to be around early in the morning, depending on what time zone you're in, but it's going to be in the morning. So you're going to see it at 0 degrees and it looks like right around 22 minutes. You know, the sun will hit that a couple days later when we have the solstice point. We will also see a full moon that's going to be in Capricorn. That's going to be in opposition to that. So that's got me thinking that something about the full moon is going to be about how the public, right, that'll be the moon, is responding to changes and reorganization and new things and information and documents that are coming out in regards to homelands. So we'll look at that full moon in a minute. Anyway, so as we see these two planets come together, we've got Mercury, which is about communication and thought. You know, like I said, in Cancer, it's enhancing our emotional intelligence and also the intuitive understanding revolving around our feelings. Now, if you're somebody who has this placement natally, you're probably a really excellent listener or communicator, and you're able to express your thoughts and feelings with empathy and compassion. This is going to help us when it comes to using words to create a sense of safety and security in our interactions with other people. Really, you know, feeling into what needs to be said at any given situation. I think with the conjunction in Cancer, it's also really combining to create a really powerful influence with, like I said, with communication and relationships. It's really emphasizing the importance of emotional honesty and vulnerability in relationships, and it can enhance the creative and artistic expression of emotions as well, making individuals with this conjunction very highly imaginative and intuitive in their creative pursuit. Really good time to sit down and write a heartfelt message or text to someone or letter to someone or email. It's also a really good time to set intentions that you're focusing the mind on the things that you love, the things that you want to protect, what you're trying to nurture. It could be a house plant, it could be a pet, it could be a sibling, it could be a child, it could be a relationship. But the mind really needs to be on, okay, this is important to me. This is what I'm going to be protecting. This is what I'm going to be working on. Try to keep the mind on that. Try to talk about that. Like, try to really keep love and devotion and nurturing, you know, kind of in your key words. And it doesn't matter what it is. Look at the Cancer area of your life. That's where you're going to be doing that work. I think collectively, you know, the impact that we're going to see also, you know, is going to be very positive because it's going to really give us the opportunity to be able to work our way out of where there's been some really difficult kind of communication themes in this last week. We've seen a ton of planets square Saturn where we felt like people aren't giving us clarity or there's been setbacks. We also saw those squares to Neptune where we were like, okay, this is confusing, it's not working. So if you want to go back to the table with some of those conversations, discussions, agreements, what have you, it's going to be a better time to do that. And you'll see that only continue as Mercury and Venus move through Cancer and eventually start making a trine to Saturn. I think that I would just really focus on the importance of showing empathy and compassion for other people, and really letting words, you know, be spoken only if it's truly how you really feel. Okay, so you'll see that in conjunction, but they're going to move side by side for a little bit, and then this is going to take us into Tuesday, the 18th. And one thing that you're going to see on the 18th is that the moon is still in Scorpio, and it's going to make a number of aspects here as well. Now, the kind of morning hour into midday, the moon in Scorpio is going to be trining Saturn, which is stabilizing for a Scorpio moon transit. Usually when the moon goes through Scorpio, we feel a little bit more intense. We feel more vulnerable. Keep in mind, this is like a Pluto-Mars related sign. So when we think about what has been happening, where the moon came into Scorpio, squared Pluto, and then opposed Mars, there's definitely some tension and some things outside of us that felt intense. And it is possible that some of us have clammed up with these energies with the squares to Saturn and Neptune, or some of us have been a little moody, a little crabby. Certainly Mercury and Venus can definitely promote more emotional reactions and communication. So if you're somebody who's usually like pretty tough, you know, I don't really kind of get too worked up or too emotional too easily, you may find that there are things going on with this transit where, you know, you're crying watching commercials and you may not usually do that. Or maybe, you know, you have a conversation with somebody and you're so frustrated, you're brought to tears. These things can happen when that conjunction is taking place and the moon is in Scorpio. But that kind of really reactionary, sensitive, you know, Scorpio moon, the trine to Saturn is going to stabilize things a little bit. We're going to kind of be like, you know what, I've taken time, Saturn and Pisces, to sit and think about it, to process it. You know, now I'm feeling a little bit better and I'm more capable of maybe kind of connecting and communicating. We'll see. So that's going to happen in the later morning hours, okay, going into the afternoon. And then things are kind of calm for a little bit. We're going to see not too much going on for the rest of the day on Tuesday. This is like a rather quiet day, but we will see in the afternoon going into the evening, the moon is starting to come into an opposition with Uranus. So this does mean that still in the evening on Tuesday, kind of bleeding even into Wednesday morning, there is this feeling of being like emotionally kind of like off kilter. We are reacting very strongly or sensitively to physical changes, financial changes, spending limit issues, things going on with changes in our food intake. Uranus in Taurus is not happy. It doesn't like being disrupted because it's like a peaceful Venusian sign. Anyway, so you may start feeling late on Tuesday night that opposition to Uranus, but it looks like it's actually going to be happening going into Wednesday the 19th, early in the morning. So let's take this now to Wednesday. And it looks like that will happen early in the morning. And as we're waking up in the morning, the moon is still in Scorpio. And the last real aspect that it's going to be making is both a inconjunct or a quincunx to the sun. Okay, sun in Gemini is like wanting to move around, kind of, you know, be free, wants to chat and communicate and be social. And that moon in Scorpio is like full of passion and intensity, and it kind of wants to cloak itself. And so there's something at odds with, okay, you know, am I going to be more extroverted and on, or am I, you know, paying attention to what's going on the inside? This is really similar to like, a tense angle between Mercury and Pluto, trying to dig for more, trying to get beyond the surface. Anyway, so quick moving transit. The next aspect the moon is going to be making on Wednesday is a trine to Neptune. And I would say watch, because there can be some moments of like breakthrough. You know, I always kind of like look at Scorpio as like this bridge before we get to Sagittarius, like where we go through some major change and transformative process where we're purging and detoxing and dealing with our fears. And then we get to Sagittarius and it's like, then we can kind of breathe because we've made our way through hell and we have a better understanding of what needed to change and who we are now. And we've learned something. So there's usually some kind of epiphany there. So as the moon is approaching that sign, it'll try Neptune. I like Wednesday morning for therapy. Moon in Scorpio trying Neptune at the last degrees. I like it for breakthroughs emotionally and psychologically. I like it for being in water. I like it for starting the day with a meditation or a detox drink or anything that's going to be purging and purifying and allowing us to have an emotional release. There can be some feelings kind of flowing in the morning, so be mindful that we can be a little bit more sensitive with that. Also, we're starting to feel the sun applying to, a square to Neptune, so that it can also make us feel a little bit more sensitive and empathic as well. So we'll see the moon ingress into Sagittarius. That is going to be happening midday. And when that happens, then the focus becomes more on Jupiter, because Jupiter is the dispositor of the moon in Sagittarius. Generally, you know, a moon in Sag, we're feeling a little bit more optimistic. We're feeling a little bit more positive. We're more open-minded. There is a sense of focusing on the bigger picture. As this happens, you guys are going to see that the moon will immediately start sextiling Pluto in Aquarius, which means that we're starting to kind of understand things better. Keep in mind also, this is the sign that the moon is going through before we get to the full moon in Capricorn. So the full moon is building right now. So there is this building effect that's happening. And perhaps with the moon coming into an opposition with Jupiter, it's going to be about an awareness of information or conversations or documents or things that we learn or places that we go outside of ourselves. Moon in opposition to Jupiter makes me feel like people are going to be feeling a lot more optimistic, daring, creative, passionate, communicative, like than usual. So there can be this like blind optimism that's kind of like floating, you know, out in the cosmos on Wednesday night. We may be feeling more creative because it's happening at a 5. We might be feeling more romantic. There can also be a sense of really being focused on what's going on with global affairs, because Sagittarius is going to be more about like other cultures and other places. And I wonder if there's going to be some kind of news that's going to come out that needs to be like translated. We might see some stuff that's coming out on like Twitter or other social media platforms that are things that are being said by leaders of other countries or news broadcasts or, you know, any kind of like documents or something that's coming out. And people are like, wait, what is he saying? I don't understand. Like, and we're waiting to kind of figure out like what the good news is. Mercury, after all, is connected to Jupiter. We've got Mercury conjunct Venus. So it does look like there can be some, you know, some conversations about positive things that are happening in other countries. And I think this is going to be people's reaction to that. And we could always use some good news, right? All right, so we're going to see then, like I said, that opposition will happen in the PM hours. The moon's going to keep moving, and this is going to lend us into Thursday the 20th. And something that you're going to see here in the morning is that the moon is rather unaspected. There's not too much going on, but the moon will be coming into a trine with the North Node, and the nodes are based off of the moon. So the more that we're doing these kind of Sagittarius things, the more that we are focusing on learning, growing, being positive, optimistic, considering the bigger picture, learning and connecting with teachers, mentors, or way showers, the more that we can kind of better understand ourselves, North Node and Aries, the more that we can also be independent, we can be fearless, we can be brave, we can be daring. So some of you guys may feel inclined to be like, oh, I'm booking that trip, you know, I'm going somewhere, or I've got plans. I think Thursday is a really great time for, if you want to listen to motivational speakers, if you want to focus on some goals, if you're looking for a new teacher or a mentor, if you're looking to do some self-help work, like this is a good time to do it. This is also not just about learning, it can be about being physically active. So this can be about getting out there and learning something new, and how to move your body or how to become more self-sufficient. Now, on the downside, we're going to see on Thursday, there is going to be a Sun square Neptune. And so we've seen, you know, Mercury square Neptune, where there was communication issues. We've seen Venus square Neptune, which was on Sunday, which was like, man, you know, not feeling the love, or I'm kind of feeling ghosted, or I'm kind of feeling left out. It does make us more sensitive. It does make us more empathic, but not in a good way. I think that with the Sun square Neptune, you have to look at what's been happening earlier in the week. And I really feel like the signs of Gemini, which is about communication, the mind, and information, and you know, Pisces, which is about what's hidden, or, you know, dissolving, or subconscious, or, you know, not gaining any traction. We're really going to start to kind of realize, like, well, you know what I thought I knew, or what I thought I believed in, or what I thought, you know, I was going to do, or where I was going to go, like that's all changing now. So it's really just highlighting that there is something that is kind of like in a tug of war between the Pisces area of your chart and the Gemini area of your chart. And unfortunately, you know, Saturn and Neptune are in superior position to Gemini. So they are kind of having a hold on Gemini. So there's something that is maybe feeling like it's blocking you, or something that's hidden or kind of mysterious, and you're like, I don't know how to kind of get through this. The lesson here is to kind of go, you know what? I need to find another path, Gemini. I need to find another way. I need to keep searching. I need to keep looking. Maybe it's not found in a book, right? Maybe it's found within me. And here we have now Mercury and Venus moving into Cancer. So now we're looking at, okay, now that I've heard this new story, or there's this different perspective, or there's this different path, or this second option, how does it make me feel? You want to be asking yourself that all week. How does it make me feel? Where are my emotions actually really telling me something that I need to know? Or now that I have found out some information that has changed my world, rocked my world, changed my mind, in this next week or two, as these planets start coming into a trine with Saturn, we're going to start to kind of realize, like, well, there is a reason why something was kept from me, or there was a reason why I didn't get the job, or there's a reason why this kind of setback happened. And we're learning that a lot of this is going to be about learning to pay attention to our emotions, processing things, and a lot of it can be about more rest and recuperation. I can't tell you guys how many people, friends, family, clients I've heard from that's like, why do I keep having this delay? Why am I being blocked? Why am I not getting the jobs? Why is the relationship not showing up? Saturn and Neptune are a lot of the culprit in the astrology right now. And, we will see throughout this year, I think the Gemini season was just was a preview. Jupiter and Saturn are going to square several times, guys. We're going to see it in August. We're going to see it in December. And as I've said to you guys before, unanswered prayers are going to be some of the biggest blessings. And so we don't want to focus on I didn't get the job, they didn't call me back, the relationship didn't work. We want to focus on the silver lining, right? That's very Jupiter. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's happening because there's another option. There is a second path. Maybe I'm going to get a job in a better company. Maybe I'm going to meet somebody who's a better match. Maybe, it's just about kind of keeping an open mind and realizing that if we're focusing too much on the limitation, if we're focusing on the lack, if we're kind of getting in our mood and getting in our shell and like clamming up, we're not open to change. We're not allowing these new things to kind of come in. So we don't want to fixate on what's not flowing, right? Saturn in Pisces is very what's not flowing. We want to focus on, okay, well, let's ask why. What am I missing? What am I not seeing here? What do I need to learn in order to be able to kind of have growth in this area? You guys will see this theme throughout the year though, basically. So the sun will come into that square with Neptune. Be mindful that there is like a softening effect that happens. On one hand, lower energy levels, clarity issues. We are also maybe realizing, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, so it's the dispositor of the sun, that we need to be more compassionate. We need to be more sensitive with ourselves and with other people. We need to realize that, we don't always know what battles other people are kind of fighting that they're not talking about. Hopefully it encourages us to be a little bit more considerate of other people, especially, Neptune can be about those who are in need, who need food, need shelter, need support, right? It's also really, I think, kind of like highlighting that unless we're able to kind of make sense of what's going on in the Pisces area of our chart, or actually like dissolve something, because that's what Neptune wants to do, we can't really move into this next phase of Cancer, right? We can't really nurture or take care of or focus on our emotions until we've allowed something to dissolve. So this is a really important time to watch. Because, eventually we're going to see Jupiter square Neptune, down the line again. We're eventually going to see Jupiter square Saturn, for the first and second time, but it'll play out in 2025. And then we're going to see like retrogrades there next year. I mean, I think I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, man, the area of Pisces in my chart is the one area that definitely needs the biggest change. And I don't know if you guys have felt that. I don't think it's just because of Saturn. I think it's because now we have Neptune in the third decan. Thankfully, Saturn's going retrograde soon, so we're going to have the opportunity to really integrate and really work on that area. But if there's any like confusion, miscommunications, things not flowing in the Gemini area, I think it's purely because we're not doing the work that we need to do in Pisces. So I don't know. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you feel that, but I'm feeling it. Now, after that square on the 20th, we're going to see then the sun is going to go into Cancer. So officially it will be Cancer season. You're going to see that in the afternoon hours. Obviously, you know, when the sun moves into Cancer, we're very much focused on what's going on with the moon. And that's why the solstice chart, I think, is important, because the moon is starting actually to come into some friction with some stuff. Okay, so the moment that the sun moves into Cancer, so it's going to be in the early afternoon, sun at 00, we look at the moon, right? So the moon is in Sagittarius. It's in a trine to the North Node. So like I said, being action-oriented, driven, self-focused. This is also about being physically active. But also it's coming into a square with Saturn, okay? So once again, we're seeing some of the same stuff. It's like, where's Saturn creating some problems? Well, now at least, you know, the moon's in superior position. So that can indicate we're coming to terms with the fact that we are sleeping too much, drinking too much, that we are afraid of things, that we have given up on stuff, that the spirit is tired, and we are turning to Sagittarius things. The moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, I think, is going to be more about writing, communicating, learning, and speaking, and thinking about the bigger picture rather than getting fixated on what's not working. It's like, okay, what are we learning from the situation? We may also find, because this is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the 3rd house out of 5, we're going to be talking about the things that we love. I don't know if you guys feel this, but I've just noticed maybe it is Saturn and Pisces stuff, more so than usual. I'm noticing that people are kind of breaking off into 2 groups. You've got the people that just day in and day out, it's just they want to complain, they're super negative. You ask them questions and they focus on what they don't like and what they don't want and where they're not happy. But there are few people that I encounter, that I talk to, that are like, you know what, I'm moving and shaking, you know, I'm alive, I have my health, I have my family, I'm thankful, like I'm just here to see what the universe does for me. And like talking to those people is such a breath of fresh air, because those are the ones that get it. So this chart is really reinforcing a lot of that. It's really saying that we have to be focused on what the bigger picture of our life is. What do we believe in? What makes us get up out of bed in the morning? What are we excited to read and learn about? Jupiter being the ruler. What do we love? How can we talk more about what we love than what we hate? How can we focus more on what's working in our favor and what we do have rather than what we don't have? And so it's this shift in terms of, I think, our philosophy and our belief system. And I think Mercury and Venus in that also is just saying the same thing. It's like, let's focus on where we're going, not where we've been. Anyway, so obviously that's going to be the solstice chart. If you're somebody who likes to do something, obviously the solstice point is significant because it represents this balancing of energies, right? So we're going to see this balancing of kind of the light and the dark. We're seeing this balancing of the energies. We are also, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, welcoming the summertime. And obviously with all these planets in Cancer, there is like a focus and an emphasis. You know, a lot of kids are out of school. We see that there's a lot more going on with home and family. There's also a lot more focus with what's going on, being around home and family with some of the holidays and the things taking place at this time. And so I think that we're going to have a lot of people talking about their faith and their philosophy and their belief system at home, at dinner tables, with family, you know, with barbecues and get-togethers and things like that. I like some of the sextiles that are in this chart as well. This is a chart that, you know, will basically be in play until we get to the fall, when we have the equinox, when the sun is going to be entering into Libra. So this kind of gives us an idea of what we're working towards for the better part of the next 3 months. Powerful time for setting intentions, you know, powerful time also for focusing on intentions when it comes to balancing things out. It's kind of cool that this is right on the heat. Well, I guess technically it's right before we have the full moon in Capricorn. So that's also kind of baked into this chart, even though it's happening a day or so later. So it does represent this intensification of power, and where we are starting to kind of find more of an emphasis on balancing the archetypes of Capricorn and Cancer in our chart, which are also, Capricorn's also a cardinal sign, so it's very busy. Anytime we have anything go through Capricorn, especially right now in Cancer season, we're going to see a major emphasis on the cardinal signs, because we're going to see some crosses. I'll show you guys that in a second. All right, so we're going to take the moon now later in the day. And the moon is then going to start to pick up a square to Saturn. Okay, so this is going to be in the PM hours on Thursday. Now the moon, which deals with our emotions, changing circumstances, especially in Sagittarius, travel, education, anything in regards to our beliefs, is now coming into a square with Saturn and Pisces. So this is not the best time for like scheduling travel. This is not the best time for trying to have a philosophical debate with somebody, for, you know, trying to arrange something in regards to your courses or your classes, because there's a clash that's going on between what the moon wants and what Saturn wants. But it is trying to reconcile and kind of figure out, you know, why have things been mysterious? What has been hidden from me? What am I not seeing? What do I believe in? So it can also be like a feeling of like a reckoning that can be happening as the moon is coming into that square. All right, so then this is going to take us into Friday, the 21st. And when we wake up in the morning, the moon is still in Sag, and it is now starting to come into, later in the day, a square with Neptune. It's not really trining anything other than Chiron. So this is once again another good day for motivational speaking, another good day for getting active, for learning how to better ourselves, working with a coach, working with a trainer, listening to motivational stuff, and kind of keeping us moving. And it looks like the moon will start coming into a square with Neptune, and that's going to be at the critical 29 degrees. You guys saw that on Friday. So think about what happened on Friday when the moon was going through Virgo and it opposed Neptune. It was squaring all that stuff. It felt like erratic, right? You're going to feel some similar stuff here with the moon square Neptune, and especially because both of these signs are ruled by Jupiter, Sagittarius and Pisces, and you've got Jupiter in Gemini. It's going to be really difficult to communicate. It's going to be really difficult to kind of like see eye to eye with other people and have similar kind of beliefs and perspectives. Now, something else you're going to see this day is Mercury will sextile Mars. So we've got our mind Mercury on organizing, home, communicating with family, planning trips, getting things in order, talking about our feelings. And what's nice about this is that when Mercury sextiles Mars, it's able to say to Mars, this is what you're doing and this is how it makes me feel. And so is there a way that we can make some changes to what we're doing, or to the plans, or to our schedule, so we can feel more productive, right? So we can have less issues with relationships. Mars, you know, is in a Venusian sign. So if you don't like something on Friday, it's a time to kind of speak up and be like, look, it's not pointing the finger at somebody and saying, you make me feel this way, right? Because we're responsible for our own feelings. But it's saying, hey, I just want to let you know that, you know, this interaction, it's got me feeling some stuff. And based off of what I'm experiencing, it's affecting me. This hurts my feelings, or, you know, this makes me sad, or this makes me angry. Or I don't like this. And it's about teaching through communication. It's at a 9. So it's about saying to somebody, you know, I just want you to know this is how I feel, you know, because it may influence in a positive way somebody's reactions, especially because Mars rules the North Node. You know, if somebody is being too fixed or too stubborn, or, you know, too determined or too agitated, there's a way to be able to speak with clarity and compassion and kind of like let them know, so they're more self-aware, so you guys can relate better. And Mars is going to be motivated by Mercury. So this also means that if you're saying to somebody, I really appreciate you, you're doing a great job, you know, keep going, like that's going to cause such a positive ripple effect on the life of that other person. So we need a little bit more motivation, guidance, direction coming from Cancer to be able to better support what's going on with Mars and Taurus. Then we're coming into the full moon in Capricorn. So it's interesting that the moon is making such critical degrees right before we come into the full moon. So I think people are going to be like, what is going on? Things feel very intense because that full moon is going to be at 1 degree of Capricorn, excuse me. I'm looking at the sun. There we go. So the full moon is going to take place in the evening hours, depending on where you are. But you're going to feel that building up all day on Friday, the 21st. Full moon in Capricorn always has us looking at Capricorn themes like our status, our career, our reputation, our responsibility. We deal more with, you know, our bosses or our leadership or our parents, because these are all archetypes of Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is actually kind of staying at 19 degrees of Pisces in about a little more than a week. It's going to retrograde. And if you guys caught my Capricorn full moon video, I talk about how even though this is a full moon where we have completions and we're like seeing the results of, you know, the seeds that we planted back in the new moon in Capricorn earlier this year, it's at 1 degree. So it represents only the beginning, right, of where we are, what we've been able to achieve. The first decan is very personal. It's about self. So this is a time to really check in with yourself and go, am I meeting my goals? Am I meeting my deadlines in this area of my life? Where do I feel like I can give myself a pat on the back and give myself a high five for being able to get X, Y, and Z done? But also it's about learning to be, you can practice a little bit of, not criticism, but you can be honest with yourself about, okay, I did that, but now where can I do better? And so full moons aren't usually about setting intentions, but when you have a full moon that's at 1 degree, and then next month in July, we're gonna have another full moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees, conjunct Pluto, that is going to feel like the critical turning point. So if you look at the area of Capricorn in your chart and you go, you know what, I haven't done enough in this area yet. I'm not completely satisfied with the results. I need to do more. That's okay. You can almost treat this like a new moon. I know that's what I will be doing. And then next month when we have that full moon, you know, it'll be at 29 degrees, which is a big completion, a big turning point, really feeling like we're finally getting a hold of what we need to be changing and transforming in Capricorn. Likely it's something that requires a lot of work. It might feel like it's had a lot of control over us, and then Pluto's going to retrograde back into that house. So like, we're not done with the Capricorn transits. I think people are going to be very surprised next month when we have this full moon, and when we have Pluto retrograde, we're going to realize that there are things that are still holding us back, that has had control over us or has been limiting us for a very long time, and we're finally ready to kind of kick some of those things in the butt and say, okay, it's time to make a change. So yeah, watch that full moon. Obviously, if you have anything 0 to 3 degrees, or I would say 0 to 2 degrees of Capricorn, sun, moon, rising, or personal planet that'll affect you, watch that video because I go in depth and I talk all about that. But Saturn is direct in this one. It's not going to be direct in the next full moon. It'll be retrograde. So you want to work with this particular full moon if you can. And I think what's interesting is we're going to continue to watch the moon go through Capricorn. And when it does, although this is going to be in the PM hours leading into early AM on the 22nd on Saturday, the moon's going to make a number of aspects. So we're going to feel that this full moon is kind of hanging out for a little bit. You're going to feel it bleed into, I think, you know, Saturday, maybe even Sunday, because the moon will start coming into an opposition with Venus, which basically means we're going to feel longing for something, or maybe we're feeling kind of pulled between what's going on in our private home or family life, Cancer, and the work or responsibilities and the things that we need to be doing, Capricorn. So there is a feeling of something being out of reach or wanting more, and more, you know, Venus can be more love, more money, more security, more stability. So there can be this tendency to kind of see that kind of built into the full moon. So we're like, you know what, I want to go bigger. I want to have a better job. I want to have more stability. I want to have more resources. So it's incentivizing us in a way, right? That moon is also going to start coming into a trine with Mars. And so the moon trine Mars is emotionally motivated. It's driven. It's an earth trine. We're seeing this play out on Saturday morning. We're like, you know what, I'm going to get something done. I've got stuff I got to do. And so I think the moon trine Mars is very good for pushing us and getting us in the right direction, and putting one foot in front of the other and actually creating change. This is why I said you can kind of treat this full moon like a new moon, because it's almost like once the full moon happens, we're going to go, okay, I've done this, but like it's not enough, more. And I would really lean into that on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. If you're somebody who doesn't work on Saturday or Sunday, you know, have something to do on Saturday and be productive, because that moon trine Mars is going to help us kind of make some kind of physical changes. And then the moon is going to oppose Mercury. And I do feel like this is going to have some people being like, you know, no, we have stuff we have to get done around the house today. No, we are finally tackling the garage or the attic, or we're painting walls, or, you know, whatever. And there is this sense of really focusing, because the moon rules Cancer, on taking responsibility and getting things done, because physical work needs to be done, Capricorn, in order to feel more emotionally secure. So it's almost like it seems kind of like counterproductive because the opposition is outside of you, when in reality, like sitting around and being like, okay, I don't want to make a change, I'm going to stay in my safe place, that's not actually going to bring safety and security. What is going to bring safety and security is taking action and responsibility for something. And yes, it can feel like that moon is very bossy and demanding. It can feel like it's telling you to do things you don't want to do. It can feel like you're being pulled between what you need to be doing work-wise and what you need to be doing for your home or your family or your roommates or your pets, whatever. And then I guess the grand finale that we're going to see on the 22nd is that then the moon is going to come into a grand cardinal cross. So we've got the moon that's going to hit 11 or 12 degrees. We've got Mercury at 11 degrees and the North and the South Node at 12. So my Astro fam, pay attention to what is going on Saturday afternoon. Pay attention to the things that you say, what you take responsibility for, what you're working on. When we have a grand, you know, cross of any kind, cardinals, I think, are the most challenging because we've got planets that are squaring the nodes on both sides and they all want to initiate something new. So I do feel like because, you know, at the end of the day, this moon is ruling all of this Cancer. It's not about staying in our feelings. It's about taking some kind of action and making the time to protect and take care of and nurture the things that we love, point blank. But we do feel like we're in a tug of war. It's going to feel like we're at a four-way cross and we can't go anywhere. And when we have this energy, we get so frustrated. But I think that it will pass. You will start to see once that moon starts moving past the square to the North and South Node by the evening on Saturday, things are going to ease up a little bit more. Just kind of watch your tone, make sure that you're not, you know, being too demanding or too bossy, you know, be mindful that some people might be more sensitive or emotional. We can't just bulldoze through things. We have to kind of find a way to balance everything out. That moon will keep moving through Capricorn. You're not going to be missing much there. It'll start to pick up a sextile to Saturn overnight. And this is now bringing us to June the 23rd, which is going to be Sunday morning. And so we wake up with that moon still in Capricorn. So we probably feel like Saturday and Sunday, we're like, oh, I'm just like so sick of getting things done, you know, or running errands or, you know, doing work on my time off. But that moon is going to then start trining Uranus. And so I think about how it's like, you know, because we took action, we've seen some kind of physical or financial change. Those of you guys who don't typically work weekends, if you work the weekend, you guys might actually find that like you make more money or you are more productive. You may find that also a lot of it is about bringing you some kind of physical security. So I think of Uranus and Taurus as like, did you make changes in your spending habits? Did you make changes in your, you know, your eating habits? Did you make changes in something in regards to, you know, your physical or your financial goals? And like, do you feel better at the end of the weekend because you made those changes? Maybe. Something else that we're going to see is then the moon is going to start coming into a sextile with Saturn, which is nice because that's the ruler of Capricorn. So hard work and dedication does allow us to kind of take a little bit of a break, I think, on Sunday night. I think that it gives us more time to rest and reflect with Saturn in Pisces and also kind of kick back. And it can be a time where we're like, okay, we've got a lot of stuff done. Now maybe we can have, you know, pool time, or maybe we can have movie night, or maybe it's a time to, you know, just kind of stay in and rest and recuperate. And the moon will also start coming into a sextile with Neptune as well, which is playing on a lot of those like Pisces themes. I do think that a lot of us are going to be working through the weekend and kind of feeling like we need to get some extra sleep. Now, what you're going to want to watch is that the moon will catch a square to Chiron, so it can mean like where people are like, you know, just working their butt off all weekend on something, even if they're not at work, and like the impact that that has on us physically or emotionally. Certainly Chiron and Aries can feel like, you know, we're burnt out, we're feeling like we're exhausted. We're more prone to Chiron related issues like conflict, anger, agitation, frustration. Maybe we're so frustrated with the fact that we have to be working on something. We're kind of feeling wounded because we don't have more freedom or more independence from something. So be mindful of that, especially 23 degrees. This is when we start to kind of notice if there is too much focus and emphasis in the Capricorn area of our life, that it is creating some issues in the area of Aries. And we'll see the moon ingress later in the evening, and it will move into Aquarius. So when that happens, okay, so this is going to be in the PM hours. The moon is going to move into Aquarius in the later evening, and then it will come into a conjunction with Pluto. Some food for thought on this. Things can get a little spicy with that conjunction. Even if you're asleep when this happens, you will wake up on Monday and the moon is going to leave the conjunction to Pluto and start squaring Mars. So know that there is some intensity in the sky late Sunday night where there is emotional change and transformation, something that's going on collectively where, you know, yes, we can see Moon, Pluto, and Aquarius, lots of conspiracy-esque things. We can see more issues with restlessness, more issues with protests, more issues with political scandal. All those things can kind of happen. But I think the square to Mars that we'll be building on Monday morning is going to be kind of talking about where these things are actually happening because of the impact on the planet. You know, Taurus is an earth sign, on money, on food. And we're going to see more themes revolving around people speculating and going like, well, maybe this happened because of that, or maybe this is connected to that. And I've seen already with Mars going through Taurus and some of the lunar transits in the squares, it has not been pretty. It has not been pretty. So be mindful of that. I do want to take you guys through the Venus in Cancer through the 12 signs. I want to show you where that's happening because I think it's important, especially with Venus being the ruler of the South Node. So it's going to be more tied to reminiscent, thinking about hearing from people from the past, reassessing past relationships, where we've lived, who we've loved, family members maybe that we have falling outs with, and ways to be able to kind of clear some of this stuff as some of these planets begin coming through and forming squares to the North and the South node. By the time we get to Sunday, the only planet that's really squared the nodes was that moon in Capricorn, and Mercury that will square the North and South node. And so I guess I touched on that, but I want to make sure you guys really got that. So let me make sure I cover that, and then we'll do the 12 signs. So that's going to be happening on the, looks like the 22nd. Okay, Mercury square the North and the South node. I said it, but I want to reiterate. Moon in opposition to Mercury makes it difficult to connect and communicate and relate. So, you know, we're going to feel like there's work to do, and then people are going to have emotions and feelings about that. We're pulled in two different directions. But when Mercury squares the North or South node, which you're going to see starting up on the 22nd because of the opposition to the moon, and when it hits 12 and change, so this will be going into the 23rd, communication becomes all that much more important. Okay, so Mercury is about communicating, connecting. It is going to be at 12 degrees is what it looks like. So it's about the things we don't say, the things we don't see, the things we don't read, not talking about our feelings, not, you know, coming out with it, and sharing things that maybe we've been afraid to talk about or afraid to kind of like, you know, put out there. So communication is more critical with Mercury square the North and the South node, and that's why I think the moon transit is so important, because the moon is also triggering this as well. This is not a week to just feel like you just have to soldier through and like put on your smiley face and be like, it doesn't matter what's going on in my private life or my emotional life. I can't deal with it. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to compartmentalize it. I'm going to go to work. That's not going to help you this week. There will be things that will happen where it's going to come out emotionally, or you will start to see some changes or effects happening at your home or, you know, within your family that's trying to get you to kind of work with those feelings that have been stuffed down inside. So talk about it, right? And know also that it's going to hit 12 degrees. And so 12 degrees does deal with emotions. It deals with tears. It deals with crying. It deals with water and things overflowing. Things that disappear, things that we lose, things that are secretive, fears, phobias, diseases, things that's invisible, isolation, things connecting to God, things that happen at night. So this can be a really pivotal time for dreams around the 22nd and 23rd. Photography, oil, gas, drugs, things that are false, insincere, things connected to poison, drowning, by the sea. Now the ruler is the moon. So I'm wondering, are we going to hear something about somebody isolating themselves for a period of time and being alone and going and taking 10 days to be in Camp David to prepare for debates? Maybe, yeah, I think we're going to hear about that. If you guys haven't heard about that already, that seems very 12 degrees to me, like where we have a leader that's, you know, holding themselves up in a house for a period of time to, you know, maybe 12 degrees mentally and emotionally kind of prepare for debates. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So let's get into the 12 rising signs. Talk about how Venus moving into your sign is going to be impacting you. And Mercury is there as well. Okay. So just as a reminder, Mercury and Venus are going to be in the same sign now. They are no longer in Gemini. They are now in Cancer. So I will be giving you guys my predictions on that. I'm a Western astrologer. I practice Western astrology. I'm not a Vedic astrologer, so this is all tropical Western astrology. For the purpose of my videos, I use whole sign, and I think we can do that because the sun's hitting 0 degrees, Venus and Mercury are going to hit 0 degrees, so you can use whole sign method if you'd like this week. If you're a Placidus user like me, you're going to want to figure out where the beginning of Cancer is in your chart, which house. It might be intercepted, it might be in between, you know, two signs. So you might have to listen to more than one rising sign. You can listen for your progress chart as well if that's what you want. Choose your own adventure. Obviously, Venus changing signs is a big deal for my Venus ruled chart. So my Taurus and my Libra risings, your chart ruler is on the move. You're going to feel the change. Equally, if you are Mercury ruled, like my Geminis and my Virgos, you're going to feel this effect as well because you're going to be seeing Mercury's changing signs, meeting up with Venus. So that's a good sign. Some kind of good news, communication, sweetness is coming your way. And I think that's pretty much it. So listen for your rising sun and moon sign. That's what I recommend this week. And let's talk a little bit about where Venus moving through the sign of Cancer is going to impact you, especially because she's meeting up with Mercury. All right, so I'm going to start first with my Aries and Aries risings. What's up, guys? You've got Venus and Mercury moving through Cancer. It's moving through your 4th house. And I think that for you guys, this is really going to be putting a focus, obviously, on, you know, your 4th house themes, home and family, but also the past, emotional roots, things connecting to where you've lived, family members, that kind of stuff. And I also feel like you may feel like there's much more of a profound love for home and family, and it's more emphasized during this transit because it is your 4th house. Now, Venus in the 4th house might mean a female relative is coming to visit. It might mean you're thinking about redecorating, especially with Mercury there. It can be about reorganization. It can be themes revolving around female neighbors, female siblings, female friends, somebody coming to help you with some kind of situation in regards to your home or living situation. Don't be surprised also if there's like communicating or hearing or talking to somebody from the past. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It can with Venus being there, but it is possible as Mercury is coming into conjunction with Venus, you're hearing from a woman or somebody that you have not heard from in some time, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Aries. Good luck. We've got our Taurus and Taurus risings. What's going on, guys? You're going to have Venus and Mercury moving through your 3rd house in the sign of Cancer. So Venus changing signs is kind of important for you, my Taurus and Taurus risings, because that's your chart ruler. So wherever Venus is where you are. So Venus going into the 3rd house basically means that you're more focused on learning, writing, contracts. There may be more of an emphasis on vehicles. There may be more of an emphasis on short distance travel. Venus also rules your 6th house of health and wellness, habits and routine. And Mercury is going into this house as well. So there's kind of a combination of both the sense of you and focusing more on what you're learning, and Mercury when it comes to your finances and also some of your goals, some of your self-expression. So this third house movement is basically going to be enhancing communication skills and the ability to connect with others on an emotional level. Venus in Cancer in the third house enhances your emotional intelligence and your intuition in communication and learning. I think Mercury coming into conjunction with Venus might mean that there is like an offer, there's a contract that involves finances or money. It might mean that you start a new creative process that involves writing in some way. And it can be about communicating and expressing what's on your heart or what's on your mind, especially when it comes to creative projects, children, or romantic partners. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus and Mercury moving into the sign of Cancer. This will be moving into your 2nd house. And obviously, not only is Venus moving here important because Venus does well in the 2nd house of resources, but Mercury is there as well. And you will be coming into conjunction with Venus, which means that there is going to be an opportunity to find some sort of resources that maybe you didn't think were available. Maybe there's some new talent that kind of comes up for you and you find that that's a way of making money. Maybe you're feeling more in touch with your self-esteem and your security, and so you're feeling more confident. But it's all good things because both Venus and Mercury are transiting your 2nd house of money. So it's highlighting the value of emotional security for you and the need for financial stability. Your values and your self-worth are deeply tied to your emotional connections and comforts of home. I see this as a time where you're only going to get as much as you think that you're worth. I see this also as a time, because Mercury represents your home, not just you, that maybe you're investing more in time with your family, or maybe you're investing more in, what your home looks like, or maybe you're thinking a lot more about how you can be buying things or building things or creating a space that feels more safe and secure, something that you personally can truly value, right? So there may be more home expenses, that is possible, but it's definitely a really good time when it comes to your self-esteem and like really feeling good about yourself and building yourself up as well. Good luck, my Geminis. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. Obviously, we've got a ton of planets moving through your sign, Cancer. So it is your time. You're coming into birthday season. What can I say about this? Well, first of all, the first house is self, right? So this is your body, your appearance, your goals, the first thing that you do in the morning. So I really recommend having a morning routine. That's going to be really helpful for you throughout these transits this week. The first house, when you have Venus transit, especially because Venus represents your 4th house of home and family, there is a sense of you focusing on what can I accomplish when it comes to my home? What am I doing around the house? How am I feeling? And then Mercury being involved is about navigating this subconsciously. Maybe you are, making some plans when it comes to travel, or maybe you're making some plans when it comes to family relationships or when it comes to moving. So you're kind of intuitively guided with Mercury and Venus being in the first house. Maybe there's one phase of a home, family, or living situation that's ending, and there's another one that's beginning. But basically for you, this is all about your emotional self-expression and the importance of nurturing yourself, because it's in the first house. It's how do I feel? What do I think? What do I want? What do I have to say? What do I need? And your emotional sensitivity and nurturing qualities are evident, and you'll be really showing that to other people. The fact that you're taking better care of yourself, the fact that you're really listening to other people, that you're really compassionate when it comes to your exchanges with others. Obviously, you're going to have that full moon in your 7th house. So maybe there is some realizations of things that are coming up about your relationships with other people, and it's got you in your feelings, and you're just feeling like you need to communicate and express how you're feeling more. That can be spoken, that can be written, right? That can be taking time to reflect before you say anything as well. Let me know how this goes for you, Cancer. Take a picture of yourself too. I feel like the Venus-Mercury is really nice for taking pictures of yourself and changing something about the way that you look. It can be very kind of like alluring. Take a couple. Mercury is a couple. All right, so we've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to be doing the Venus in Cancer transit in your 12th house. Mercury will be there as well. So the way that I kind of see this for you is that, first of all, there can be some really strong intuitive messages that you can get from your guides right now, whether that's in dreams or in meditation. You know, Mercury is like the megaphone. It is kind of connected to your 3rd house ruler, which is about communication. So there can be some sense, if you're taking time to kind of silence the mind, kind of tap in, you can get some really good guidance from your higher self or your spirit team. But this is also, I think, the 12th house. It's really encouraging emotional healing and introspection, and the pursuit of spiritual understanding. So there can be like this feeling that also your love life is like going through some kind of significant change, or that there is some kind of, you know, mysterious shift that's happening with relationships behind the scenes. And you're really focusing on, you know, how you can kind of emotionally stay on top of what's changing within a relationship or within your home or within your family. After all, Cancer does represent those things. No real harsh aspects to your 7th house Lord, but it does make me feel like with Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in the 12th, it can be that you're taking time for introspection. You're taking time from another person, or there is a sense of being away from other people because you need to figure out kind of like, okay, I'm sorting and sifting through things before I get to my birthday. You know, what am I keeping with me and what am I discarding of? And I think that's what you're kind of working through during this time. Venus has connections to your career, and it also has connections to, like I said, communication. And this can be a lot of like back office conversations and meetings and things that are taking place, agreements that are taking place about some kind of alignment or partnership or some kind of group of people that you're getting ready to work with. So it might be something that you feel like keeping private until you've really kind of made this decision. Good luck, Leo. So we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You're going to be experiencing Venus and Mercury moving into Cancer in your natal 11th house. Obviously, the Mercury transit is important because you will be coming into conjunction with Venus. So this can be about significant opportunities socially, meeting with other people, making new friends, money-making opportunities and potentials through networking or through friends, and possibly meeting somebody who can provide a lot of support or bring something of value into your life, right, Venus? Now, Mercury deals with you, but also with your career. So if you're, you know, wanting to find a job, networking is the goal this week. If you are just starting a new job or position, you know, meeting and collaborating with a new group of people, kind of getting to know people, that might be the theme. But it's bringing a sense of like focus on emotional connections within social groups and the pursuit of collective goals together. So I think that this week you're going to have much stronger emotional connection to your friends and your networks, and you'll be valuing some of your friends like family, or you're going to be realizing that, you know, maybe you are, you know, hundreds of miles away from home, but you've got certain people that are in your life that you're like, wow, this is like my brother or my sister or like my parent. And people really kind of making you feel supported and loved throughout this transit. Good luck, my Virgos. Let me know what happens. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You're going to be experiencing the Venus and Mercury transit through Cancer. It's moving into your 10th house. So this is the area of your chart that deals with career, Libra. For you, you know, it's interesting because Venus rules your chart. So in theory, Venus going to the top part of your chart is very good for you. It's really good for visibility. You're going to get more recognition. You know, professional relationships might be a little bit smoother, especially with women at work, or if you have clients at work, it might go a little bit better. Mercury is going to be meeting you. So it basically means that your 12th house Lord and your 9th house Lord will be coming into conjunction with your Venus transit. So business with people overseas, you know, foreign clients, shifts in terms of your beliefs and your perspective about your career, some kind of news coming your way from further away, some kind of change that might be happening in regards to how you're receiving money, opportunities to meet somebody who can help you with traveling or with publishing or anything law related seems to kind of be the theme. Venus also has to do with your 8th house of joint resources and other people's money. Now, I think that this is really highlighting for you in terms of your career, the importance of emotional fulfillment in your job right now, in your public life. You may find that your, public image is deeply influenced by your emotions and a need for a nurturing or supportive work environment. So really, it's like an interesting time because you're going to be asking yourself, well, how do I feel about what I'm doing? And like, what is my goal? And like, what is my purpose? And I can't help but laugh because, well, when we have this full moon in Capricorn, it's bringing your attention more to, well, what's going on the home front. There's a lot of home front things that are happening. And obviously, like everybody's going to experience the cardinal square, but the cardinal squares are going to be more impactful, I think, actually for the cardinal signs. So Libra and Aries are the ones really kind of in the mix here with that square. Anyway, trying to find balance, still being able to focus on career and good relations with people publicly, in spite of what looks like a lot of moving parts in your chart. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Venus moving into the sign of Cancer, moving through your 9th house with Mercury. So for you, my Scorpios, this is good because, it's happening in a fellow sister water sign. So you and Pisces are going to benefit from this particular transit throughout the next couple of weeks. The 9th house obviously has connections and associations with higher education, spiritual growth, your belief system, travel, ceremonies, anything in regards to law, legality, publishing. So when we put Venus, which rules relationships, it can be about committed relationships, it can be about marital partners, it can be about clients, and also Mercury, which is about groups of other people, your goals, and also merging resources in your 9th. It basically means that, you may find that your relationships are going to have much more of like a spiritual or philosophical dimension this next week or so. Maybe you're seeking to nurture your emotional and intellectual growth through love and expansion. Certainly love can be found in airports, love can be found in classrooms, love can be found in, venturing or traveling or expanding the mind. And with Mercury hitting your Venus transit in the 9th, it may mean that there is like a woman connecting with you from further away or networking with you in some regard, and you may see that pop up. And it can be a teacher, it can be somebody who lives in a foreign place, it can be somebody who's helping you with something that you want to sell, or something that's kind of like legal connected here as well. Good luck, Scorpio. We have Sag and Sag rising. You'll be experiencing Venus transit in the sign of Cancer. It'll be going through your 8th house, and Mercury will be there as well. So for you, my Saggies, this is going to be interesting because the 8th house is always a lot about emotional depth and healing and moving through shadow or moving through fear or pain. So the 8th house is about deepening emotional connections during this transit and focusing on shared resources and intimacy. Shared resources and finances are important to you at this time, and you may feel that you're really drawn to talking to your partners about emotional and financial security. Now, the 8th house is about that financial merger, but Cancer is emotions. So you're talking about, well, how do I feel about vulnerability? How do I feel about changes in my home? How do I feel about, sharing finances, or talking about, debt or whatever? And Mercury rules relationships, and it also rules your 10th house of responsibility. So it almost looks as if like you feel responsible for sharing with your partner, what's going on with work or what's going on with your financial situation, or vice versa. It could be the other way around too. Maybe this is where a relationship is getting more deep, and you're learning how to be a little bit more vulnerable and talking about things that involve your family or your past or things that you're afraid of. Because Mercury, which rules partners, will be meeting Venus, it does mean it can also be a time where you're working with therapists, you're working with people on transformation themes. You could be meeting with people to help you detox. You could be meeting with people to help you with accounting or finances or tax-related things as well. That can kind of come up. And really, this is the time for being vulnerable. And you might actually have somebody who's talking to you about helping you financially in some way, or opening up the potential avenue for a loan or for an investment. That can come up with this transit also. Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's going on, Capricorn? You're going to be doing the Venus in Cancer transit through your opposite sign in the 7th house, and Mercury will be there as well. So this is putting a lot of emphasis on relationships to other people. Obviously, the sun is going through Cancer also, so there is going to be either a focus on a relationship to a client, to a friend, to a family member, to a romantic partner. There is like a lot of emphasis on this this particular week. And I think that with Venus, which rules, you know, career and reputation, and also has connections to romance, you may feel more confident, or you may feel like there is a sense of something building that could be more tangible or serious in regards to a partnership of some kind. Mercury being there as well does talk about support, and it also talks about learning. So it might mean that you're learning a lot about relationships and the give and take in relationships, and about love with this transit. Anyway, as this happens to your 7th house, I think the conjunction is emphasizing a need for emotional intimacy and harmony in partnerships. You may feel that you're more drawn to partners right now that share your perspective in regards to home and family values. Maybe you're introducing people to family. Maybe your family is trying to set you up with somebody. And you may feel, if you're single, that you're seeking a partner that you can create a loving and supportive home environment with. And so there is more talk about some of these things with your partners. If you're in a real estate business, if you're in home, you know, decor, or maybe selling home-related goods, this can be a time where you can be really busy as well, because there's a lot of people interested in what it is that you have to sell. Good luck, Cappy. We have got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Venus transiting Cancer in your natal 6th house alongside Mercury. All right, so for you, we're going to be really focusing on the 6th house themes. So this is about emotional well-being, right? If the 6th house is health, healing, pets, you know, responsibilities, and your to-do list, certainly Venus going in there means that part of loving yourself is taking care of yourself, and that your emotions have an impact on your physical body. So you're going to really see the importance of the emotional well-being in work and daily routines. Venus in the 6th house emphasizes that you're going to be more nurturing and caring in your work and daily routine. Venus also is connected to the 4th house, so it might mean that you're paying more attention to getting things down around the house, organizing, taking care of pets, watering plants, or that there is a woman coming in and helping take care of you, or helping you in some capacity, or maybe there is some exchange where you're helping a relative or a family member. I think Mercury being in the mix does mean that that support can also come from a romantic partner. It can come from a child. It can also come at a time where, you know, it requires you to be vulnerable, and it requires you to be open to talking about your fears or talking about your needs. And it can bring you closer with another person if you're willing to do this. You know, there can be more opportunities for jobs if you're looking for work in the 6th house. And also it's a time where we're getting a little bit more love and appreciation and affection, sometimes from coworkers or even from pets. Good luck, Aquarius. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You'll be experiencing Venus moving through the sign of Cancer, and it will be in your 5th house alongside Mercury. Okay, so I like this transit for you because obviously the 5th house is all about creativity. It is about romance. It's about children. It's about playtime. This is all connected to the pursuit of love and pleasure. Venus loves being in this house. It enhances your creativity and your emotional expression when it comes to like hobbies, passions, and romantic projects. But also Mercury rules your 7th house of committed relationships, and it also is connected to your 4th house of home and family. So it means that through romance, creativity, and hobbies within the home, or with kids, or with a partner, you know, relationships can really thrive. It also means that if you're going to like a 5th house place, especially because Mercury is going to conjunct Venus, you could meet someone. So if you're willing to say, hey, I'm going to go out of town and, you know, go and visit a theater or a concert hall, or I'm going to go and see a concert, or I'm going to go to a casino and do something that is more 5th house, you're much more likely to meet someone. There can be some really big things happening involving phone calls, communications with romantic partners, with younger people, with children. And overall, I think the 7th house lord and the 5th with Venus is actually a really good opportunity for a chance connection, meeting somebody, and lots of opportunity in relationships. Now, if that's not your bag, if you're not focused on that, this is about your hobbies, what you're creating, what you're enjoying. Being on stage, performing, putting something out there, especially if it's something you have to say or something that involves the arts. So performing a song, writing music, writing poetry, like these are things that can thrive at this time. And obviously Venus in this house, it's trining you by sign because it's a water element. So you're going to see that all of that 5th house, self-love, creativity, self-expression, and joy, it's funneling positive energy into your 1st house. And it can kind of liven up that Saturn, I'm on my own vibe. It can really liven up that Neptune, nobody sees me. And maybe if you've been kind of dealing with elements of feeling isolated or alone, now you have an outlet for that. And now you can share how you've been feeling with people, or you can make something, or like a window of opportunity opens up where you can have more fun and you can experience more love in your life. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Pisces. So that's kind of like Venus and Mercury moving through in that conjunction, kind of in a nutshell. I do think I talk about this in the June horoscopes as well. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you do. They're already live on my channel. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday talking to you guys about what's going on in the cosmos. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell button. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and leave me some comments below. I love to hear from you guys in terms of how you're feeling. I promise you this week is a lot easier than last week. Last week we had a lot going on. So things are going to kind of smooth out a little bit. And I definitely think it's going to be a lot easier to kind of manage and deal with this week. Don't forget to check out my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com, or you can find my courses, all of my astro calendars and sessions with me if you're interested in booking one. I'd love to talk to you about your chart or your transits. That's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll catch you guys back here on Tuesday. Take care.